All right, Hate Forest is a Ukrainian black metal band, and one that I think probably got noticed a lot more once one of the members, the founding member, Roman Senko, became better known for his and his bandmate in Hate Forest's work in Drudk. And I won't go into Drudk too much. I think that that band was really, really interesting uh, as a phenomenon up until about 2010, and then it just became a popular group in a different way. So, Hate Forest never really became like a as popular in the same way. This is a band which they're sort of known for picking up on the triumphal um, notes of classic black metal, the atmosphere of early Norwegian and Russian black metal, Polish black metal, and really kind of Burzum influenced groups overall, and translating that into what a lot of people felt like was a an important contribution to rhythm guitar work, especially. And when we go back and look at the history of the band, we find that a lot of the associated acts and artists really did start out with early 90s death metal or some interest in the death metal scene before they were turned on to black metal. And really, their careers were made in black metal. But all of them have some sort of existing connection to death metal. And I think that's kind of important because it sort of focuses in on the fact that this is still guitar focused music. It's music written by guitarists primarily, as far as I understand. And it wasn't always, um, yeah, a lot of people focus on the atmosphere of it rather than the actual guitar work. But really, the Hate Forest fan is showing up for a certain style. And that's changed over the years. There were several albums that came out in the 2000s that ceased beyond 2005, and those really set the precedent for expectations. I think, like I personally felt like the first album was interesting for what it was, and still is very good. The the last album, Sorrow, was really the culmination of all those experiences, and still trying to find a reaction to what was happening in drugs and keeping this interesting. And um, really, the focus was on Drudk for so long that uh, it seemed like there was always another project on the way that uh, filled in that space. And Blood of Kingo was one, Precambrian was another, and those sort of eventually worked themselves out in a similar style. So it was strange to see Hate Forest come back in 2019, and without Thurios, who was involved with most of the early albums. I think starting from the beginning of the band, technically. So we have work that is very much focused on Senko's guitar work, and it has a different feeling. I think that's the really only important note that you need going into this. Yes, it's a Hate Forest album. Yes, it's a good one, but you don't really need any more information other than the voicing is different because the artist has changed over time. And all that means is that we're not getting just the same glowing phrases over and over. We're not kind of getting those. Um, if you're familiar with Eternus's Beyond the Wandering Moon and Dark Sorcery, you recognize the folkish, again, triumphal aspect of those records, which easily translates to this music written for two rhythm guitars, which explores similar territory. On these last two records, he's moved away from that, and really the work is more expressive. It's not necessarily always heavier. Some of it's a little bit more. You can tell the emotional register and connection with the guitar has changed over time, but this is very much still an attack. It's still an aggressive record. So I don't have that much more to say about it. I think that this is a fine black metal record that's focused on rhythm guitar work. I think the things that I liked about the band initially are still what I like about the band. I don't think this is a drastic or strange entry in that their oeuvre, but this is something different. It does feel like something else. They're keeping it interesting and not just polishing up old ideas. So it's familiar. It's a little bit cleaner made and produced, but ultimately still stripped down to this original idea. Down to the aesthetic, which I think is really good. So I thought it was worth praising at the end of December. It didn't make it onto my lists because I didn't know about it until the 19th. So I've only had about a week and a half with the record. And now, yeah, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So I wanted to talk about it and give it a short review. You can read more of the details in the review and see what you think.